You got the other ones? Oh, okay. How's Joe? We had a talk today.
Is there?
Yeah.
It's scary when you've got more law enforcement than people.
Are you trying to say they're not?
I was just gonna.
Ooh, he said that, not me.
Civilians. I do not agree with that assessment, by the way, Chief.
I object to that assessment.
We're almost ready, folks.
It says 5 o'clock, we're ready.
My watch says
No, wait, yours says 5? Mine says 6 now.
Mine still says 5.
Wow.
Mine says 5 after. We'll call the meeting to order. Would you please rise and do the Pledge of Allegiance with us?
Thanks, Lon.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Can we have a roll call?
We certainly may. Good evening, everyone. We'll start with Councilmember Kelly.
Present.
And Councilmember Turner.
Here.
Councilmember Perkins is absent. Councilmember Mendoza.
Here.
Councilmember Best.
Here.
Vice Mayor Miller.
Here.
And Mayor Croft.
Here. Let's go on to the first item, which is introduction, presentations, and proclamations. Presentation of life-saving award to Officer Newton and commendation to Officer Sellers. Chief Wynn, will you bring your folks up and?
We'll share.
Okay.
I thought that Under Armour was captain's bars. I thought we got a new captain here.
You come over and do it. Right over here by the middle.
Right in the middle, right in the middle.
Got your box.
He makes me look, yeah, scoot down. There we go.
On the other side. So they can get pictures.
Oh, yeah, look like a sandwich. We'll start with ladies first. Very pleased and proud tonight to present Officer Newton with a certificate of commendation and a life-saving award. On September 6th, she responded to a call of a lady that was unresponsive, no heartbeat, not breathing. Through her training and experience, she recognized this was most likely an opioid overdose, so she administered her Narcan and brought the lady back. And the fire personnel that arrived on the scene said the lady would not have survived without her quick thinking and action administering the Narcan. So congratulations. And okay, on November 16th of 2018, Officer Sellers responded to a call of a man down on the highway at Road 5 North. When he responded, the gentleman was not breathing, had no pulse. He was able to administer CPR and revive the gentleman. He did later succumb to his injuries, but because of Officer Sellers' actions, he was able to be taken to the hospital, and his family was able to come and say their goodbyes to their loved one before he passed away. So congratulations, Officer Sellers. Now the mayor has to come take pictures.
All right.
Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Thanks, Chief. I don't know what you do.
I put up with you, sir.
Thank you so much. Okay, let's go on to item 3, call to the public. Call to the public is an opportunity for the public to address the council on any issue within the jurisdiction of the council that is not on the agenda. Public comment is encouraged. Individuals are limited to speak for 3 minutes. The total time for call to the public may be up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the meeting matter, scheduling the matter for further consideration, and decision at a later date or responding to criticism. Do we have anyone that would like to speak? Thanks, guys, for the work you do, and ladies, we appreciate it. Anyone? No speakers? Good. Let's go on to response to the public. Response to the public is an opportunity for the mayor to inform the public about how town officials address matters raised during call to the public at a previous meeting. So I'm gonna respond to it. There are several items. Item one is recommendations on tax proposal. It's a three-part question. Question is, clarify how it will work with land divisions. Will developers have to do the paving, or is the town expected to do so, and then residents will have to pay? Response, current code does not require paving on lot split easements unless the road is dedicated and also paved to current town standards. Easement will not be maintained by the town, so no property tax money will go to the easement itself. The tax money will be used for the overall maintenance of the network of town roads. B part, what are you doing about drainage issues? Prescott Valley has a drainage ordinance. We should do something similar. Response, the town has a flood prevention ordinance. While there are always drainage concerns and issues that need to be addressed, the town will handle them separately. The ballot measure is for road maintenance only. C, when will the argument pamphlet go out? Arguments for the voter information pamphlet are due 2/20/2019 to the town clerk. Is that correct? Okay. The second question, regarding property that the town is considering rezoning so that multiple homes can be put up, we are positive what property she is referring to, and we are assuming the Center Street duplexes. There's 7 parts to the question. Part A, could the new property owners be required to post a bond for the water usage as their wells will affect current neighbors' water availability? Our response, as this question refers to wells, it should be noted that the town does not regulate wells. Any questions concerning the regulation of wells should be directed to the ADWR, Arizona Department of Water Resources. The owners were required to have a certificate of assured water supply, just as every other property owner has to have. Part C, can the noise of tenants be controlled? The response is all properties within Chino Valley need to abide by our noise regulation located in Town Code Title 13, Chapter 131. C, there are recommending a chain link fence with a weed. We need a brick wall. Response, through conversations with the residents at the neighborhood meeting, the applicant has agreed to locate a block wall instead of a chain link fence. D, this is a rural area. We don't need it to be commercial. Wow. Response, the area is actually a mix of medium density residential and low density residential and commercial land uses. The general plan map has designated this area for commercial, multifamily, residential. E, there's a wash that goes through. How will that be handled? Response, drainage plans will be required. Drainage will be required to detain any development-created runoff. Any development-created runoff to pre-development levels. Any offsite flows that enter the property currently will need to be accounted for and released at the natural and historic place and rate. F, the town states that there will be 9 duplexes. However, it also says 18 single units according to the sign. Response, the Center Street duplex project consists of 9 duplexes comprising of 18 individual residents. And number G, there will be a big increase in traffic. Response, current traffic rates on Center Street are approximately 2,000 or more vehicles per day per a 2018 count. The added traffic will be approximately 120 trips per day. This would equate to about 1% increase in traffic volume. A traffic statement prepared by the developer's engineer confirmed this and stated there is no warrant to turn lanes or any other improvement needed for the Highway 89 intersection. And that ends that. Okay, let's go on to current events and summaries. myself and the mayor and whoever on the council would like to come with us. We have a community outreach at Overflow Coffee, Wednesday, February 20th, from 8 to 9 a.m. This is an open discussion session, so we'll be there to answer questions and about the various things going on in town. So if you have some questions, comments, please come to Overflow Coffee, February 20th, from 8 to 9 a.m. Mr. Duffy, are you ready? Does anybody here have a report?
No, later on.
Okay, let's go on. Quarterly status report on residential, boy, I lost my mouth after all the other. Quarterly, don't say anything. Status report on residential and commercial building permits, code compliance matters, and UDO rewrite. Mr. Duffy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I have just a real brief report, just updating you on our building code, our building activity in the community, a little bit about the nuisance abatement program. Basically, we went back and looked at the stats from 15, 16, 17, and 18. And you can see these are the total of new housing units that we have, the orange being manufactured homes and the blue being residential homes. And if you look, and this is on a calendar year basis, so if you look in 17, we had 170 new homes, and in 18, we had 171 new homes. So we're pretty flat over the last 2 years, but we did see a ramp up. That brought in building fees, you can see just the dollar impact of each of those, and you can look and see that this is where we've seen that increase in revenue in the general fund, but it's been pretty consistent the last 2 years. 17 and 18 were about equal. This is the commercial building activity, and this is what I wanted to point out to you, because we did see a nice little ramp up in 15 and 16, but a little bit of a decrease in 17 and 18. And so that, that does have an effect. And then I also wanted to show you the general fund sales tax collection. And as you can see, in 18, it really went up. This last year, I know I've been reporting numbers that we've just seen this huge bump. And the problem with construction sales tax revenue is it's cyclical based on the number of construction. So, but as you know, we built about the same number of homes in 17 and 18. So why is 18 so much higher? It's actually when the home sales close. So these are your developers like Mandalay and the developers in Highlands Ranch, when those homes were really closing and when the revenue was reported. So you had that a little bit of a lag because they were building pretty quick in 17, so we got the building permits, but the sales didn't happen until 18. So that's all I had on the building permit side. If there's no any questions.
Questions?
No, sir.
Thank you. Great.
So one of the things I did want to mention though, so in this year's budget, I'm going to plan on about the $400,000 level for construction sales tax and not assume we're not going to have that high amount, because we really don't want to cut, plan on spending the money that we don't have. So we're going to wait till we actually receive it before we actually budget to use it, like we have done in the prior years. So on code enforcement, the cleanup campaign has started. Aaron and David did a presentation at the chamber, at the last chamber meeting. We've had an article in the Chino Review. The commercial has started actually doing courtesy inspections, and she's done maybe 20, 25 last I talked to her. We meet every Thursday and we do an update on the ones that she's done. And so she's gone out, had the courtesy inspections, come back to the office, called them, and is actually getting some compliance already. So she's starting at the north end of town and moving south. We've sent out 250 residential campaign letters, which are these guys, focusing on the Chino Meadows 1 area first. They've developed their forms. I didn't have a door hanger, but they've got a door hanger that they leave on the homes, on each property in the residential areas. And it's just, a nice little thing that with a few check boxes, here's what we see. And they also have a multi-part courtesy inspection report that they're using on it. So with that, it's started. We're starting to get busy. And I do want to commend, though, Joanne Brookings for all the work that she's done, because she's done everything in the background that you guys don't see, developing the forms, developing procedures, and then all the work that she did helping rewrite the code. So I do want to give her a shout out for doing just a really good job in directing her staff and getting this done.
That was a good presentation at the chamber meeting, so.
Yes.
Well, you guys did one on the road maintenance,
Yeah,
and then they come in and did one on the code enforcement.
right. But I want to give her a lot of credit because she's
Yeah,
done a
well,
lot of
yeah,
it.
I know. Those that work behind
Yes,
should get credit too.
that's right. So that's all I have for this evening.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yay, her.
You heard. Thank you. Okay, let's go on to the consent agenda. All those items listed below are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Any council member may request to remove an item from the consent agenda, be considered and discussed separately. You have anything to pull? Anything over here? Then I'll take a motion.
Is she gonna read them?
Nope.
No?
We're not reading them anymore.
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as written.
Second.
Item A through.
We have a motion to it in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to 7 action items. The council may vote to recess the public meeting and hold an executive session on any item on this agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431-03A3 for the purpose of discussion or consultation for legal advice with the town attorney. Executive session are not open to the public and no action may be taken in executive session. Now I've got to read A. This may take a while. Consideration of possible action to adopt 2 ordinances relating to public maintenance matters in the property, thank you, in the Unified Development Ordinance UDO and Town Code as follows. Adopt ordinance number 2019-862, amending the UDO by deleting subsection 1.11.10, abatement of hazards to public health and safety and civil sanctions pursuant to ARS 89-499, and amending subsection 1.6.2, powers and duties of the zoning administrator and assistant zoning administrator, and deleting section 6, property maintenance. I got it right that time, huh? And adopt ordinance number 2019-864, declaring the document titled Town of Chino Valley Public Property Maintenance and Public Nuisance Town Code Amendments dated January 22nd, 2019 as a public record. Adopting said document and amending Town Code Title V, Public Works, Chapter 52, removal of rubbish, trash, and the like, and culvert maintenance. Repealing Title V, Chapter 52, subchapter, removal of rubbish, trash, and the like. Dilapidated structures, that's all those that are falling down, huh? Adding new title 13, Health and Safety, and amending Title 13, General Offenses. Mr. Duffy, you made me read all that stuff.
Yes.
And my
Whoa,
assistant,
7?
No, sir.
There's
the
more than
vice mayor
7?
would not read those for me, so.
Okay.
3.
I saw 7 on there.
Well, I have the presentation from our study session, but I would like to skip, if you won't mind, to the items that we discussed that you want some input backwards.
That'd be good.
Okay? And there are 3. One, we talked about abandoned vehicles. Well, if I was an expert on the town code, I would have said, oh, let's go back to 8207 because that addressed the abandoned vehicles as we were talking. You know, that they have to be, it's unlawful to have one if they're inoperable, stored, or junked, but you can keep them if you're restoring them, and they need to be screened. So I think that's pretty much what council talked about that evening. And if I'd known the code, I would refer you back to it, but unfortunately, this is my only second or third time going through it. So I think that addressed pretty much the concerns that council had with keeping vehicles on the
Let me see
property.
if that does. Does that,
Good.
Lon, does that meet your concern?
And
You
it is
discuss it on this
We're
item.
talking about the used vehicles. Lon
vehicles.
It's
and I
on
were more
page
concerned about the heavy equipment one.
Yeah, it's
Well,
on
no,
page.
I was talking about this also, and
Yeah,
what
you
came
were.
up was if people are gonna have stuff that they're saving to redo or whatever in the future, then they will put it behind a fence. And
That's easy.
That's, yeah.
Okay.
It's actually on page 61
right.
of,
How about this side? Any questions on that?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I thought we had mentioned something about acreage, if you had, certain size of acreage?
That's coming
Oh,
on
that's
the
different.
commercial equipment.
Yeah, next slide.
And RV.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the biggest discussion we had was on 8309 is parking of commercial vehicles. And Susan Goodwin, our attorney, actually rewrote it because the gist that staff got from you is that you wanted, Bob's Plumbing or Bob's Electrical to be able to park his vehicle in his driveway at his house, and that is allowed. So what we did is basically on developed residential, that it's prohibited to have a vehicle over 13,000 pounds on your property unless it's 1 acre or more. Then you could have one commercial vehicle or a piece of heavy equipment on your property having a gross vehicle weight over 13,000, which is item B. And then on developed residential property of 1 acre or more, then you're allowed to have 2 or more commercial vehicles or heavy equipment exceeding the 13,000 pounds as long as they're concealed from public view. And what we originally proposed was that we'd have to do either a special permit or a conditional use permit. And I don't think the public wants to go through that process to do it. So as long as they're screened from public view. So the way she worded it, we thought really made sense for it to, yes, sir.
B and C say the same thing with two different outcomes. They both say 1 acre or more, and then 1 commercial vehicle or 2 or more commercial vehicles.
Okay, so if it's 1 acre or more, you can have 1 commercial vehicle or heavy equipment.
He's right.
You are right.
You're right, same thing.
So it's just a
So
verbiage thing.
it's
just-
really a 2 acre or more. So
Yeah.
properties of 2 acre or more can have more than 1 commercial vehicle or heavy equipment.
So on C, it should be 2 instead of 1?
Yes.
1 acre.
Yeah, the difference is that you can have 2 if it's screened.
What's that?
That's what we're trying to do. So it's, on a 1 acre parcel, you can have 1 that's not screened. If you want more than 1, and your
Then you
property
have
is
to
greater
screen
than
if you
1, you can
more
have
than
2.
one vehicle.
If it's screened, if they're
don't
screened.
remember that.
No, I don't either, and here again, I'm not trying to
Okay.
be difficult, but I'm gonna use my own, my piece of property as an example. I've got 5 acres. I've got 2 vehicles. I've got a backhoe, I've got an old fire truck that I use for a water truck.
Right.
I just don't think on 5 acres that I should have to screen those 2 vehicles. Now, if you're on a 1 acre parcel, I understand. And you've got neighbors close and so on and so forth. I don't think there's gotta be a designation between, it sounded good when we did it, when, the way we had it, when we had the study session where the 1 acre or at least 1 acre, you could have 1,
Okay,
okay?
got that.
And without any screening or anything. But now to go to 1 acre or more, so a person could have a 5, 10, 20 acre piece of property, and you're still saying they're being treated as the guy with 2 acres.
Yeah, and it's as long as they're excluded from public view. So if you have a big parcel and you have them on your property where you can't see them, that's what this is saying.
So I have to build a 12-foot fence to hide my fire truck.
And your backhoe.
In your backhoe.
Okay,
So what do we want to say? How do we want to say
Can,
this?
can I inject one more part of this?
Okay,
Yours are, we'll use lawn as an example.
okay.
Your fire truck and your backhoe, those are for private use.
Yes.
They're not then commercial vehicles. And we don't want to allow, especially developed residential properties, as being commercial properties. Even if they're 5, 10 acres, they
Right.
need to be in commercial property then.
Right.
I think the whole idea of that was that if you are that plumber or that you're able to bring your work vehicle home.
Onto a residential property.
Yes,
So
it doesn't
distinction.
mean you can have your employees all picking up their commercial vehicles at your home though.
Correct.
And I think that's covered under A. Is it not?
Well, B and C are exceptions to A.
Yeah. B and C are exceptions. So you can't take your commercial vehicle home over 13,000 pounds on any residential property unless it's B or C. So you're right.
Wait a minute, except provided sections show.
The exceptions are B and C.
Okay, I missed that first time around. What I had brought up that needs to be, I think, needs to be an exception in there also under A is if I'm the plumber with a Ford 550 service truck and it weighs over 13,000 pounds with all my equipment on it, I still need to be able to park it in the driveway overnight so I can go to work the next day in Bright Star.
Okay.
It's my work vehicle. It's not stored, it's not it's my daily driver that I take back and forth to work.
Right, so do we,
Once you take the weight limitations out of A and just say vehicle, wants you to say any residential property, you can't store that vehicle unless you're going there for commercial purposes on the property.
But your work
Okay.
truck, you're not
Yeah.
going home for commercial purposes.
No, you're just going there,
Yeah, you're driving it back and forth to work.
driving it back and forth to work.
Right.
Would two-axle vehicle, and I'm just thinking out loud, cover that scenario instead of a weight? Once you go from a two-axle to a three-axle, now you're getting more into where as long as it's still a two-axle truck,
Yeah, the thing there that you're gonna get into is a person could have you're gonna open that up then to say an 18-foot flatbed that's a two-axle truck.
What about trailers?
if that's his work vehicle, to and from home.
I mean, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it, if that is, and that's what it has to be. It's not for anything else. It's, if this is the daily driver, this man goes to work and back home every day, he needs to be able to park it at his house.
right, and most of them are under 13,000 pounds, because most of them are just your utility vans or your pickup truck with the utility box, toolboxes and stuff, the plumbing trucks and that you see around town.
But there may,
So it's a
like,
rare exception that's gonna be over that.
not really, Joey. If
You
you
know-
take the vehicle weight on and I'm gonna use the Ford 550, because you see a lot of them for
Right,
work trucks.
right.
And I think the gross vehicle weight on that thing is,
They're trying to keep them just under 24,000 pounds,
Oh, okay.
to prevent CDL requirements.
so I mean, these are work trucks, seriously, that guys drive every day that carry a lot of weight.
Okay.
So, I just don't wanna have a homeowner told that he can't park his work truck in his driveway.
Right.
What are we trying to stop from? What's our goal here?
The intent is to prevent somebody from bringing a semi truck home and parking it in their on their
So
residential
then
property.
the axles would be appropriate then
Yeah.
versus the weight.
Right. Right.
How does our code
Joanne, do you
enforcement-
agree with that? Yeah.
So two-axle vehicle. And that's going to limit you, you're gonna be under what, 26,000 pounds then?
Joe, you got
Is that-
something?
Yeah, generally under 24.
Come on up, Joe.
But
Right.
Joe, Frank, whatever the hell your name is. You look like Joe.
If I could maybe ask a question, I think Councilman Mendoza may be more of an expert in this, but a bobtail dump, about a 6-yard dump, is 2 axles. Do you have any idea what the weight of that would be? Is it 26,000, I think?
the most GVW would be 30,
Three.
Yeah, that's,
20 and 12. 32,000 would be the,
No, but
Yeah.
he's
The
saying,
max
he's
is-
saying a bobtail two-axle.
yes.
yeah, that's,
'Cause
I
you
was
could-
just thinking to myself that that's probably the biggest 2-axle truck I can think of, is, say, our Vector truck or like a 6 to 8-yard bobtail dump. But I'm not too familiar with what the actual GVWR of it is.
Where I'm seeing some heavy trucks, say some of these mechanics, they have the,
Them things are heavy
yes,
with the
Yeah,
cranes.
and-
the F600 size. And that is their vehicle. They can be called out at any
A
time.
guy that works for Empire or something like that, that's his
Yeah,
work truck.
yeah,
That's about the heaviest two-axle unit that I'm kind of,
and they do have pretty heavy fleet maintenance vehicles that may be 2 axles, so.
so
I
again,
think
we
that's-
don't want to exclude them people from being able to bring their truck.
That's the only
trucks
thing I
home.
had, was just trying to think of what was the biggest 2-axle truck, make sure you,
Okay.
Can
I got one.
picture it, yes.
Owner operators, they come home once every 6 weeks or so, and they park on their 3-4 acre property. So that would be illegal?
Well, no, that's going to go into item B.
Yeah.
why can't we just take the weight limit off? Yeah,
I'm sure you guys already talked about it, but the Meadows, there's a lot of tow truck drivers that live there, that park their tow trucks there, and obviously those lots aren't an acre.
And those
Yeah.
generally would then
That's a good
apply
tip.
to that two-axle allowance in the meadows, so.
So for a work truck, a guy's daily driver, like she's saying a tow truck or something,
Yep.
we have to take that and treat it totally separate to my water truck or my backhoe. You know, that's stuff I have for my permanent use, but it's not my work truck.
Right.
So those guys need to be able to park that in their driveway every night, no matter where they live, like she's saying, Meadows, Bright Star, wherever it might be. Smaller pieces of property, but it's how they make their living, so they have to be able to take it home.
what else do you see out there?
I see a lot of semis, but if they have a trailer on
Why don't you,
them.
why don't you come up front up
Sophia,
here?
you gotta come up, yell the microphone.
We're hard of hearing, we can't hear you.
None of that, we're deaf.
Ooh, my microphone, that's dangerous. So we see a lot of semis, but most of them that are parked on residential property are actually just the trailer itself. It doesn't have the load attached to it. And when they do come into town, we usually tell them to park right next to our police station or, what's that road? The one that's behind Days Inn. Because a lot of them will park their trucks there.
Back there, yeah.
So we don't see a lot of actual full-on semi-trucks in residential areas, but there's, yeah, so it's just the cab. And like I said, a lot of tow trucks and a lot of people that work in those professions, like you were saying, like plumbing, mechanic, any sort of a handyman or something. A lot of them live in Chino and they go work in Prescott, so that's kind of their home office.
But she did bring up a good point, Joe, with, if a person does live over in Chino Meadows or on the house lot, they have no right to park anything there. Is that correct? How do we deal with that? If the guy, say the man's a tow truck driver and he drives one of them rollbacks and it's two axle,
So this is allowing them to
Thank you, Sophia.
park it in their driveway, essentially.
Yes.
how?
As long as it's under the 13, as this is written, right?
Under
But they're
13?
not, I know.
Oh, here she
Yeah.
comes.
No, but I'm saying, what's those tow trucks rated at? They're not under 13.
No.
No, what they're rated for and actually what they have on them are,
I
You know, quite
understand
often,
that, but we're
so-
talking about rated.
yes, so that's why I, again, kind of go back to the two-axle, limiting.
The biggest complaint we have, and we have
Can you get
several
on
of
the
them.
mic, please?
We have several complaints regarding people bringing 3 and 4 trucks home and parking them in their yard. Because their home office is out of their home and they have all their vehicles in their yard. That's where we get the complaints.
No, and I understand that, and here again, the only thing I'm saying that has to have, we could go to two axle, I think would be fine, but one everyday work truck needs to be allowed to park in any driveway.
Correct.
So if we can do that, and then B, the 1 acre, or maybe that needs to be at least 1 acre,
It's
or,
still-
or something, that's how it was intended when we talked before, that they can have one vehicle, like a tractor,
Right.
or something like that for the yard maintenance, because they've got at least 1 acre of ground. But then, when we go to C, 2 or more, here again, because now we could go to 5 acres, or 10 acres, and I think that I don't believe it's correct. I think the town would look uglier if we got a bunch of parcels like that. Like I said, I'd have to build a 12-foot fence if you wanted me to hide that truck. And I think that's gonna look gaudier than having the truck sit there. So,
Well, where I see the difference is the term commercial vehicle versus private vehicle.
Correct.
If you're Chino Meadows, you are allowed to have one commercial two-axle truck within that high-density areas. Then on to item B, if you have an acre, you still should only be allowed to have one commercial vehicle, or even C, should still only be one commercial vehicle, with the exception of two people in the household that both have commercial vehicles. So even then, say a maximum of two, just in case it is a husband and a wife and they each have,
So you're saying take
or a
out,
grown son.
take out the weight limit and just put commercial vehicle?
Yes, limit the commercial vehicle. Now, if you, between the 1 acre, the B and C, how many, in a residential setting, how many tractors do you allow, or how many, personal water trucks, but again, those are personal equipment, not commercial. If the backhoe you have at home is to keep your property maintained, that's fine. If the backhoe you have at home is going on a trailer every day to go dig footings, well, then it's a commercial use, it should be on commercial property.
Or if your water spreader is used to spread water
For other than your-
your private property.
Right.
It's used
And that
for
is the
business.
distinction
Yes.
as residential.
So ever how that needs to be worded,
Do you use your water truck on your business? Or is it just for your property?
I don't use it for business. I use it for dust control on my driveway and my parking lot of
Then
my
that's your
business. I'll run it
that's your
through there,
private
but
business.
no, I don't take it out on jobs.
Well,
It's
that's okay.
actually, it's actually
I think council
titled as a
does
piece of farm equipment.
I figured it would be, yeah.
proper,
Yeah.
commercial versus residential.
So that's, I guess, I think that would be the simple way to do it, is completely separate commercial. So that is a commercial licensed vehicle. And
Yes.
then we go to, having equipment like I'm talking about having, like my water truck and my backhoe, that are personal pieces of equipment on, residential property.
Yeah, and that's
And-
fine.
And,
It's a commercial. So do we take the weight limit out? And
I-
define it as a,
you're gonna need I think you're gonna
Unless-
need to take the weight limit out for the daily driver, at least. So he can drive his Empire truck home or his tow truck home. That has to be allowed. for
if,
that guy.
is there any variance allowed? Is there a zoning administrator variance within any of this? And I believe that there is in some sections and not in other. And the reason I say that, I would like to then see one commercial vehicle, on any residential property. Now, there is gonna be the exceptions, like I said, where you maybe have, a grown son, or where you may have the occasion to have two. Could they then come in and get a waiver for that, because it is a family thing and not turning it into a business? Just as the zoning administrator kind
Yeah, that,
of deal.
yeah.
Because it's still within the essence of the,
Absolutely, and I think that what we get the complaints, we've never really got them on, personal use. It's usually the commercial trucks that are being parked in residential areas for businesses.
yeah.
so if we were to leave it for one commercial, and paragraph whatever,
And then we can,
zoning administrator can, have a discretion there. But basically one per commercial, or one commercial vehicle per residence.
As a daily work truck. And that, if you put that in a separate paragraph, limit it to a 2-axle truck, we are talking about a man's work truck. Now, anything else, take it and put it elsewhere.
okay.
Or a woman.
So
Yes.
we could also add that they have to come in for a conditional use permit. Anything exceeding this, they can just go through the commercial use permit process. We could do D,
Yes, I
other
think that would
exceptions
be
by
appropriate.
conditional use permit.
So you have a good idea of what we'd like to have in there? And consult any of these gentlemen if you really have, and that's gonna have to be rewritten.
Okay.
Yes.
I still have a question on
Frank, you got something?
the empty commercial tractor trailer. The guy owns this property. It's a few acres. It's not out in front, not really in view, but he hasn't built a 15-foot protective visual, and he comes home once every month, once every 6 weeks, parks it for a day or two while he sees his family. How many complaints do you get on that?
Not too many unless they're really a, over-the-road 18-wheeler. And we don't get too many of those. We've got a couple, but it's mostly the commercial vehicles being parked in
Okay.
residential areas.
Sophie, do you see many of those?
Which ones?
Well, that's where she said, they generally encourage them to leave their trailers, you know,
Park someplace else.
on some of these commercial developed areas.
So that takes care of that.
Yes. And if they're gonna take their tractor home, and if they're inconsiderate and they're coming in and out at 2 o'clock in the morning, well, then they need to, you know, not be
That's
there and
where the-
enforce it. And I don't think neighbors are gonna complain if they, on that every, once a month, come in, they park it in their driveway for
Leave
2
it for
nights,
2-3
and they're
days,
gone
4
at
days.
it during the daytime and not disturbing the neighborhood. I don't think there's any,
Any other questions, concerns?
Do we just make a
No.
motion, return this?
Yeah, we'll return it, let's make a
Let me do it.
motion, we'll return it. Yeah.
Make a
Second.
motion that we take, item 7A and return to staff for rewrite and bring it back at a later date.
Second,
Second.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
We'll get everything else good.
Okay,
Thank you.
any questions? All right. Let's move on to B, update regarding status of 50th anniversary committee activities. Mr. Best.
Okay, I guess I get to do that. I will share my time with Jack, though. He's my co-chair on this, if he can one step in. But the main thing we're doing right now is trying to get articles and stuff for the book. We have gone ahead and talked to some publishers, which has given us a little more time. We wanted to go ahead and have the book ready to go ahead and be available this coming Labor Day weekend, 2019. And then at all of our activities, we'll have it available throughout the next year. The events that we're looking at and things to go ahead and do, we've had a couple artists come and show us presentations and what it's gonna cost. One artist was talking about making miniatures that we could either sell or raffle off to go ahead and offset our expenses. We were looking at postcards to go ahead and we've ordered. They haven't been printed yet. We're discussing the writing and what should be on the postcards besides our logo. We are also looking at T-shirts, which can be made singular. So we will have a few made to show people, and then you can go ahead and pay us, go down to Tom's Print, and he can make it for you right there on the spot. And that eliminates us having a stockpile of the wrong sizes, the wrong color, or when we get done, we'd have no leftover articles that we have to get rid of. Our meetings are the first Wednesdays of every month. We have different people, things, life gets in the way, but as long as we have your email address, you get the minutes from that meeting, what was discussed, what we've moved forward on. And so just give us your email address, and whether you're there or not, which we would rather have you there because then we get your input. But it lets everybody be caught up all the time on what's going on with our committee. Other than that, we're just trucking along, trying to go ahead. I went Friday to listen to a gentleman for our concert. He was at the Palace playing. He sounded pretty good, minus the noise from the bar. But he's said he would work with us and go ahead and get 2 or 3, maybe 4 acts to go ahead and put on for the concert, so you can get a variety of music. I think most of our music out here would be country western But we could go ahead and squeeze in some, Bob Seger or some of the oldies that, we used to know. So, we're working on that. The, event for the day is pretty much filled up with the pancake breakfast. The parade for the 2020, we will go ahead and have it enlarged. More activities, more floats, more people involved. The activities in the park, the vendors, the kids' amusement will still be in the park. And then the corn dinner will happen, and we're still discussing having the concert Friday night or having it on Saturday night to get rid of everything. The people I've heard from so far are thinking Saturday night. For us who have to flop pancakes, we're up at 5:30, 5 o'clock over at the senior center. Means we would not get much of the concert the night before. And if you're in the parade, I'm sure you're getting your acts together, your floats, or the final touches and stuff. So that's pretty much where we are. The mayor has given me a notice, a kind notice, nothing nasty. Our meeting will be here at the town hall next month, March 6th at 6 o'clock. So if you haven't been to one of our, and you want to get involved, and we would love to have more people involved, be here next month, the 6th of March at 6 o'clock. And I hear he's bringing goodies.
Councilmember Best. Councilmember
Can I
Best.
ask? Sure. All right, what the committee really needs is volunteers to get information from the old families, the old businesses and all that. So if anybody's out there interested and would be willing to help, we could use that and drumming up old photos. And look at the calendar, look at the board.
That's where they send their information.
That's where they send their information if they do get that. But we have forms to fill out that will allow you to, it's a guideline to get information written down. It's right there.
The forms
So-
are online. Yeah, let them know.
The
that
form's online, so they can
Forms
fill it
online,
all
they
out
can fill it
online.
out, yes.
Cool.
Yes.
So there you go. I learned something tonight.
There it is.
That's it.
The next committee working meeting will be Wednesday, March 6th, right here at the the council chamber in Town Hall from 6 to 9. I'm going to conduct a planning session. We're going to set goals and determine action steps. I'm going to facilitate it. So we don't have a plan right now. Sometime during this year, we have to do a budget. So part of that has to be put together. So and I don't know what committees we have. I don't know who's doing what. So we're gonna sit down and start back at day one, and we're gonna do some planning. I know a lot of it's been done already, so we'll bring that in to what we're gonna do with the planning session. So if anybody wants to come and be involved, we appreciate it. We're gonna set some tables up in here and move chairs around, and we're gonna start action planning, and there'll be some goodies, so if you're interested, come on in. Thank you. Anybody else?
Okay, we make a motion, we adjourn?
Second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Mike, I can't do that no more. That's Lonnie's job now. I was informed.
Oh,
Well, that's
I
Lonnie's
He
apologize.
took my job.
Okay.
Where are you, Mike?
I missed something, but I will understand what goes on.
Hey, Matt,
You have set the
before you leave, I
precedent.
need to talk
You
to
can
you.
do I second.
Okay, that they can have. Let's go home.
Good night.
Hey, Jack, are you running that 5K on Labor Day weekend?
Tomorrow. Tomorrow, finish up next year.